When we need to prepare for a competitive event, our go-to company is the Army Painter.
Thanks to their complete range of paints, spray cans, and gaming tools, we're able to complete our new armies and units in no time.
When we need to elevate the quality of our models and terrain, the Army Painter is always our first choice.
You may not know this, but the Army Painter has sponsored more competitive events than any other hobby company.
Tournament and wargaming is in their DNA.
Visit thearmypainter.com to learn more about their amazing products.
And use promo code AW Paints for a 5% discount from your Army Painter purchases.
What are you waiting for? Discover the best way to prepare your models for events with the Army Painter today.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another Tier List Tuesday. This is the fourth in our series of top 10 units in the game. Today, we are going to be talking about the best monsters in the entire game of Warhammer 40k.
That's right. Monsters are cool. Everyone likes big dudes who run around and do big stuff. People watch Pacific Rim, is my point.
They do.
And
shockingly good movie.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen it, but I've heard it's good.
You've never seen Pacific Rim?
Never seen Pacific Rim.
We need to fix that.
But I'm here. Basically, this is... If you watch this video, you will have basically watched Pacific Rim, is my point.
Yeah, there's a lot less good music in this video than Pacific Rim.
Well, probably the same amount of good songs.
Probably, yeah. Probably.
All right. Big monsters. Everyone likes them. Everyone loves them. But which are the best?
Yeah.
We're here today to answer this age-old question.
A few caveats. So I don't think actually applies, but I'm going to give it earlier. Is these are going to be big monsters that feel like big monsters. So if there's someone who like it feels more like a character or like leads a unit, they would have been in our top 10 characters video.
Yeah. So for example, Morvenn Vahl is a vehicle and is a character.
Yep.
Did not make the top 10 vehicles list. Made the top 10 characters list. So
the Silent King made the top 10 vehicles list, but not the top 10 characters list.
Yep. You get one list. You just get one list, which might help you somewhat determine what's going to be on here.
Yes.
But yes, if the character feels like a monster, then monster keyword wins out and it qualifies for this list.
It is also not a strict criteria. It was purely vibes based.
Yep. And it's our list. Go kick rocks, basically.
Yep. All right. If you like this kind of content, if you want to see more tier lists of or more things Art of War, please remember to like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Additionally, if you just like us so much, we would be thrilled if you checked out the War Room, where you can find all kinds of really cool content. We put out 2 extra battle reports a week, also super things like Know Thy Enemy and Shack Theory. With a 3-day free trial right now, you can check us out at thewarroom.vhx.tv.
All right. Well, shall we dive right into our honorable mention?
Honorable mentions. Our first honorable mention is the Keeper of Secrets.
Why is this thing so tough, Quentin? It's unreasonably tanky. It's not the tankiest demon. That one's coming later. But it is pretty damn close, to be honest with you.
It's shockingly annoying.
Yeah, so it is toughness, if I remember correctly, toughness 10, -1 to hit at all times, which, yes, is actually really annoying. With a 4-up invuln and a 5-up feel no pain. And if you're willing to spend, I think, 15 extra points, you get Soul Stealer. And Soul Stealer lets you heal wounds on a 3-up every time you kill a model. And that one that's durable. That's pretty tanky. That's pretty tough. And the heal, what's up with that?
Yeah, additionally, you can spend the CP, if you really want to, on Demonic Invulnerability and Rule 1s for failed saving throws.
Yep. And that's really annoying when you have to do that.
Doesn't want to die.
No.
It's very durable.
And the -1 to hit is really annoying because it's every gun or melee weapon that targets it.
Yeah.
And like one unit in your army might have rerolls to hit. And then they're okay into a keeper, but they're not going to get the job done by themselves. Let's be honest. It's 18 wounds with a 5-up feel no pain. It's like, that's not going to happen. So that means that every subsequent gun that does not have rerolls is just -1 to hit, and every gun becomes very swingy, and it's just tough to put these things away. And if they have multiple of them on the table, good luck with that.
Especially if they're backed up with some other monsters. They're a really great frontline monster because they can just run out and be like, you have to put way too much effort to kill these things.
Yep, they are somewhat expensive. They're $290, I believe. But what you get for that price is just a ludicrous amount of durability.
Yeah.
And also, they're like really good at chopping up elite infantry. Like, they're really good at that. They're 10 attacks that wound on 2s and 3s, depending on how tough you are. Some of it has dev wounds, some of it doesn't. All of it is +1 AP from their own buff. and it's all of its damage 3.
Yeah, they're not going to like run in and like kick flip a Armor of Contempted Land Raider, but that's not really their goal, right? Their goal is to kill like Terminators or Possessed or something in that weight bracket.
Yeah, they grind really well. Because you go in, you don't kill them, then they hit you back, then they hit you back again, and then you don't kill them again, and you're like, oh no, my unit's falling apart.
Yeah, it's not a thing that like kills you in one activation, but it will kill you over like 3 or 4 turns of continuous combat, and it has a durability to survive there.
Yeah, absolutely. What I will say is it's also really annoying that it moves 14 and it can advance and charge.
Also, in the new update,
it's so zippy.
It's a greater demon, so it's a 6-inch aura of counts as being in shadows.
Yes, it is not the biggest abuser of being in their own shadows range, but it certainly is up there with the whole, hey, if I'm below half strength, I'm going to heal, and if, on a 5-up, and if I stab you to death, oh, I'm within shadows range, I guess my healing is on a 3-up, like, that's pretty annoying. And then also you can do things in the codex like put the mask nearby. Now the mask doesn't really factor into how good the data sheet is on its own. I just figured I'd mention it. But if you charge into a keeper and are -1 to hit, and then the mask goes, hey, you're -1 to wound, you're not even scratching the paint, regardless of like trying to kill it. -1 to hit is the sort of rule where if you can do it on command, it's all right. It's fine situationally. But if it's always up, it just is so annoying.
Especially if it's up across multiple units.
Yeah, you just have nowhere to put your like, oh, this gun is pretty decent, but hits on 4s. It's like, all right, it's doing no damage. I want you to just understand this.
Darkland Scourge is weeping.
Yeah, just hitting on 5s. I mean, it's not the biggest thing that's weeping in this list. It's the what is it? The Haywire Scourges?
Oh, yeah, it's fair.
Haywire Scourges get bullied to hell and back by this list.
They do. We're going to cover Super Chats at the end?
Absolutely. So we'll get every single Super Chat. Don't worry, Chris, but we will cover them all at the end.
All right. You want to go on to our next honorable mention?
Next honorable mention is Demon Princes writ large.
So we did this in vehicles. We had the Forge Fiends. We talked a lot about different Demon Princes, and we were like, they're all like just not quite good enough to make a top 10, but there were like 9 that could have made an honorable mention.
Yeah, so why don't you go through which ones are yours?
So basically, there are how many different Chaos Demon Princes are there? There's like 10.
There's 8, I think. 8? Chaos Demons, Chaos Marines. No, there's 10. There's
10, yeah.
World Eaters, Thousand Suns, and Death Guard.
Yeah, so basically there's a winged and a foot prince, and this is kind of all the Demon Princes together.
They all
have different rules. The Thousand Suns one teleports. That one's pretty good.
That one is pretty neat with how the army functions, just being able to get a Psyker in line of sight of your opponent consistently is really obnoxious, especially when it has Lord of Forbidden Lore. So if any of your Psykers can get line of sight to your opponent, you can get 2 Psykers in line of sight of your opponent, and then you double Doombolt anything you want. Really obnoxious.
Yeah. The CSM one, the Wing Prince and CSM, like does a bunch of charged mortals, and if you can give it the intoxicating elixir, is quite durable and hits pretty hard. He's very good. The Foot Demon Prince and Death Guard is pretty solid if you're running like a lot of infantry lists.
He's cheap as hell.
He's so cheap. 6-up Feel No Pain for like your whole army is really good for all your infantry, but still. He's also toughness 11, which is very annoying.
Well, his aura range is also not 6 inches like most auras.
No, you can get it up to be like very far.
You can get it to be a 12-inch aura.
I think you can get it to...
You might be able to get it to a 15 if you have like or
15 if you have Mortarion
next to him, telling him how to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, little guy.
Both the World Eaters princes are very good.
Yeah, so the Foot Prince, I've gone back and forth on both princes for quite a bit. I think they're both like 15 points too expensive to make the list.
That's about what my thought was. They're just a little too expensive.
The Foot Prince gives out an aura of 4-up invuln for any unit that has an invuln already, or any infantry unit that has an invuln, and he has devastating wounds on the charge, in addition to having the good offense of World Eaters baked in. So he's the +2 strength of a Corn Prince, and then +1 strength and attack on the charge, and suddenly you're strength 11 instead of strength 8, which is a pretty big break point.
Yes.
And dev wounds on the charge is pretty significant. They also have some very good enhancements that can go on them. Helm of Brazen Ire, giving half damage, is basically a Catan if you don't think about it. Doesn't heal, but does have a 2-up armor save. So
I think I'd take that trade.
It's pretty close. You don't have a 5-up Feel No Pain, you have a 6-up, but like it's close enough to a Catan at like 220
Yeah.
that it is definitely worth the conversation. Then there's also Berserker Glaive to make them +1 strength and damage, or +1 attack and damage. Sorry, not strength. And damage 4 smash attacks, damage 2 sweep attacks with dev wounds is pretty neat. Those are probably the two I would take if you're going to take them. The Winged Demon Prince is slightly worse. He does move very fast and takes advantage of -1 damage in combat. He rerolls hits and wounds against one target chosen at the start of the game. But if you don't kill that target by the end of the game, he dies, which doesn't matter at all. It's just funny because he dies after all points are scored except for assassinate if they fix it, basically. He dies after you score primary. He dies after you score your secondary cards. It's only if they fix assassinate where that matters. But it's a funny rule, so.
Yeah, I mean, basically, like, every Demon Prince is like a medium monster who's a little fast and hits a little hard, and they all do something differently that kind of buffs the army around them. They are all probably like 10 or 15 points too expensive.
Yeah.
Basically across the board.
I think if you just dropped a Demon Prince is about 20 points on average.
They'd be really good.
Yeah. The World Eaters ones have very cool rules, like a battle shock at the start of the fight phase, things like that. Very cool rules.
They're all cool. They're all just like, they are all kind of annoying and hit kind of hard.
Yeah.
But none of them like truck something. Like, they don't kill like a rhino on average. The World Eaters ones might.
The World Eaters ones can, because you can give them all kinds of buffs.
Yeah.
Like reroll hits, sustained hits, reroll 1s to wound, +1 to wound. Like, they will flatline a rhino.
Yeah, because years ago, the biggest issue Demon Princes have, and I think the thing that for me that's personally keeping them off being higher on this list is the fact that they are broadly like strength 8 in combat.
Yes.
They're like 8, 2, 3, which is like okay, but
6 attacks.
Yeah, like they're not like out with no rerolls.
Yeah.
They're not like outstanding at killing stuff. They'll like beat up some trash, but not like kill God.
On the charge, World Eaters ones are 7 attacks at strength 11.
That helps a lot, right?
It helps a lot, but they are also the most expensive at 195 and 200.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a bit unfortunate.
So if you want like a good medium monster with some buff pieces, the Demon Princes are not bad, but they're like they have some weaknesses.
Yes.
All right. Moving on to our next honorable mention.
Let's go.
We have the Nightbringer.
Yes. Oh man, there's so many lists out there. They're just like, oh, what should I bring? Should I bring a monster? Should I bring Catan or something? It's the one Nightbringer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just he's tough as nails, man. He's
so,
Catan, he hits hard.
He went up like 50 points from where he was at the start of the edition, right?
I think less than
40 points, yeah.
Yeah. But he is like 295 now. Yeah, he's 295 now, and he probably should have started there. 255 was a joke.
Crazy. So what do you get for the Nightbringer? Well, he's 12 wounds, toughness 11, 4 up armor save, 4 up invuln, half damage, 5 up fuel and pain, heals D3 wounds in your command phase, 2d3 if he's next to Reanimator.
Yeah, and an extra D3 if you can get a Techno near him.
Sure, he is so durable.
He's mega tanky.
He's so durable.
So the 5 up feel no pain. The 4 up armor actually matters because if you're in cover, AP 0 gives you a 3 up. Half damage means big shots. Half damage and a 4 up invuln just means las cannons just don't do cut anything. Toughness 11 is just such a nasty breakpoint for strength 10. Because strength 10 ordinarily is like a pretty good anti-tank profile, and into toughness 11 is just not. He's also like the size, his base, he's on a 40 mil, Quentin. He's on a 40 millimeter base, so he is tiny. He's a tiny little lad.
Yeah.
His weakness is that he's almost 300 points and he moves 6 inches.
Which is bad. But he does hit like a freight train.
He does hit like a freight train. He's like 6 attacks at strength 14. AP 4 D6 plus 2 dev wounds, if I remember correctly.
I think that's right. And then his gun is also like D3 shots at like 14 to D6 plus 3.
I think it's 12 to D6 plus 3, if I remember correctly. Right, yeah. It's just, he shoots hard enough that you can't ignore him and you can casino cannon occasionally. But realistically, he just beats you up in combat and trying to kill him is miserable.
Yeah.
It's just miserable. Like, I've mathed out like the heftiest units in my army are just like, yeah, I can get 8 wounds off of him. And the problem with getting 8 wounds off of him is you're not investing anything into like some of the tougher targets, like the Avatar of Cain or things like that. If you get 8 wounds off of them, that's an investment for the future because now you can kill them.
You can like bank that for your retirement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the Nightbringer just heals. He just heals. And he can heal for, theoretically, if their positioning is on point, 3d3 in one turn.
I mean, like, if you like go in on him and like miss and he's down to 1 and they take like a turn off. Like if you go in on him on turn 2, then he heals on turn 3 and he goes behind a wall. Then he heals again on turn 4.
And he comes out.
He's just back to full.
Yeah.
He's like fine.
Or he's at like 10 after your army is shattered.
Yeah.
Generally, you have one swing to kill a Catan. We'll cover this in a bit.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for the rest of the list. But generally, you have one swing on a Catan. And if you whiff, they're going to heal. They're going to hit you. They're going to follow up. And you might not be able to hit them again.
The other thing I like about his durability is that like the way his defensive profile stacks, the best way to kill him is like super weird ways. It's like a lot of like AP0 lethal hits.
Yes.
Stuff like that.
They don't like lethal hits. But like there's nothing that they're particularly vulnerable to.
Not really.
Because of the feel no pain.
Yeah.
Right. They're not particularly vulnerable to grenades. They're not that vulnerable to like AP0 shooting.
Yeah.
They're not that vulnerable to high damage shooting. Right. Like nothing puts them away reliably.
No. I mean, like the only thing it does is you have to like turn your army on this guy and like annihilate him.
Yes. Which can be tough.
Yeah.
And still might not work. I've seen it not work.
Yeah. Like you said, I think his biggest weakness, and honestly for me, the thing that's keeping him off the top 10 is the fact that he only moves 6. So it really is easy to be like, I cannot deal with this guy this turn. I'm just going to have my army stand 17 or 18 inches away.
You just cannot let this dude bang a charge.
No.
Because that's how he motors around the board, right? He moves up, nails a charge into whatever you left on the center, and now he's like one turn away from ragdolling you.
Yeah.
So you have to just not give this dude charges.
If you do that, then he just like advances at you, and then he's like, you can kind of keep him at arm's length, but you just have to like power walk in the other direction, which is really annoying if he's on the center objective.
Yeah, because he moves to the funny circles that tell you where to stand, and you're like, well, I wanted to stand there, and he's like, yeah, it's tough, bro.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah. So that's not great. What I loved, my crowning achievement of the Eradicator bomb is just one rounding this dude. Just one shot, just picking him up full to dead.
You know what unit's actually like shockingly good into him?
What?
Is Harlequin troops.
Yes, Harlequin troops are really good at killing him. Other things that are really good at killing Catan is anything with bonus damage.
Yes.
So Melta is pretty good because you half the D6 and then add the +2 for Melta. Or Sword Brethren.
Yep.
Sword Brethren are damage 1 and 2. That all gets halved to damage 1. And then their ability to bonus damage takes it to 2.
Damage 3 is also not terrible into him because it gets half to damage 2.
Yep. Thunderwolf Cavalry is pretty decent, especially since you can give them Lance. Yep. All of that's pretty solid. And also lethal hits pretty easily.
There are ways to do it, but if your army is like mono las cannons, you will never get there.
No, it's going to take forever.
All right. Moving on to number 10.
Number 10.
We have the Tyrannifex.
Okay, why is this dude so unreasonably tanky? Let me look up the stats exactly to make sure I'm on the right page, but I'm pretty sure he's toughness 12 with a 2-up save and 16 wounds for, well, his price starts with a 1. Let me put it that way.
195, I think.
I believe he is 195, and he also blanks a save before he has to take it. So if you nail him with like a big las cannon, he's like, nah. You hit him with Melta, you're like, no, I know I have to take that save, but nope, not about it.
Yeah, he is the point where he's basically a Land Raider for 190.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
Yep, and he got a buff to the Rupture Cannon. The Rupture Cannon is a Omega las cannon. Just do not get hit by this thing.
What is it? Hits on 3s or 4s.
Hits on 3s with heavy.
So if he stands still, which he actually can because he's durable enough to stand in the open.
Actually can. And also keep in mind that if he's wounded at all in Crusher, he hits on 2s.
That's
because he's +1 to hit.
Really good. And that's what strength, like 16 AP 4 D6 plus 6 damage.
Close. Strength 18.
Strength 18. So he's wounding toughness 9 on 2s.
On 2s.
So rhinos, he a lot of times will hit on 2s, wound on 2s, no save, one shot could kill you.
Yes. He just needs to 50-50 it once he gets one through.
It's 2 shots, but we have approached the point where the gun is actually reliable.
Yes. I mean, this is the kind of gun that a Hammerhead has 1 shot of.
Yep.
This has
2 shots.
2.
Also, he is one of the best targets for the Hive Tyrant's free command point reroll.
Yep.
In your shooting phase, because you're like, I didn't wound. Now I did.
Or any free strats that you might have.
Any free strats,
like
5 Feel No Pain.
5 Feel No Pain's pretty tight. Yeah, it's just unreasonably tanky for something that costs 190.
190. Ooh.
Not 195, 190. It is a Land Raider in durability without Armor of Contempt, but
I mean,
sure, you can
it's
give
way
it
cheaper.
You can give it a 5 Feel No Pain, so there's that.
Its durability
suppose.
also comes in the fact that you can like very easily take 3 of these things.
Yes.
It's not even like
It's not hard.
It's like a quarter of your list, just three of these
190.
things.
It's like 190 is so cheap for the durability that it has that it's ridiculous. And again, once per battle, when an attack is allocated, which is before it takes its save, change the damage characteristic to 0.
That's really good.
So
You get shot by a railgun,
shot by a railgun. Nope, sorry, that's damage. That's
hit by a Nightbringer.
you get hit by a Nightbringer and they're not near the Silent King. Sorry, that is damage 0.
Damage 0, yeah.
So it's very good at just living. Now its combat is atrocious.
It's not what it's here for.
4 attacks at 802.
What are the stats on the acid spray?
So the acid spray, I'm glad you asked, is D6 plus 6 auto hits at 18 inches at 622, no ignores cover.
No noise cover is hurt. That's still not a bad flamer, though.
It's not a bad flamer. It is D6 fewer shots than a Land Raider Redeemer and does not have ignores cover.
I think you probably
But
take
is
the rupture
18-inch
cannon.
range. But is 18-inch range, and the Overwatch is pretty nasty.
It's also much cheaper than Land Raider Redeemer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he is deadly demise D6, and so he can
In Crusher,
explode and
his auto explode.
Crusher.
Yeah.
That is pretty funny.
So you can just run this guy at your opponent, like charge Angron or something, and be like, grenade.
I think you take the Rupture Cannon because it is so easy. I mean, to be clear, if you take the acid spray and he does live on like 3,
He's just like
what
there.
happens is he gets +1 to wound.
Oh, it's terrifying.
And you just drown your opponent in AP2 auto hits.
So one thing that Tyranids actually have a big issue is, and John has expressed this a lot, is that they're really good at killing like toughness 6 and 5, 3 wound infantry, because you have Exarchons and Maliceptors and Norns or whatever. And this guy is really good at killing Land Raiders and like Catan and himself.
And
Well, other Tyrannifexes, right? Not literally him, but he's shooting other Tyrannifexes. Right? Like he has a different damage bracket than all the other Tyranid armies, so he fixes kind of the issues they have.
yeah, he absolutely does. And the thing is, if you have 3 of these or 2 of these moving up the board, like what is dealing with that quickly, right? They're going to get to shoot multiple times.
Especially if you have a lot of other monsters in the front.
Yeah.
And they're like hiding in the back, like cutting angles, and you're like, well, you can shoot 2 tanks at me. Probably doesn't kill me.
Or you just motor them up the board, start spraying shots the whole plunking shots the whole way. And as your opponent steps out to deal with the toughest thing in your army, you're like, all right, other monsters that might make this list get to continually just drown you in quantity of shots.
Yeah, 190 is what I like this guy. Like, there's nothing inherently broken about his data sheet. Like, if he was like 250, I wouldn't like him.
No, he'd be not good.
Yeah.
But the fact he's so spammable and so tough.
Yeah.
And also solves a critical weakness. If you just get shot over and over again by this thing, you will lose all your tanks.
Yeah, because toughness is on like a scale relevant to points, right?
Yeah,
Like a Warlord Titan is the most durable model in the game.
probably.
It's like 60 wounds at toughness 14.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. But you can't take it, right? Because it's 5,000 points. And this guy is very durable relative to his cost. Like there are the Nightbringer, right, is objectively harder to kill, but he is probably harder to kill relative to cost.
Yeah. And also nothing, as I said, like you're going to get to shoot these things multiple times.
Yep.
Like you just are. And if you have one activation of a Rupture Cannon, sure.
Anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen. But if you have 7 activations of a Rupture Cannon
You're killing
in the
tanks.
first 3 turns or whatever, your opponent won't have tanks anymore. Now, I have been lucky enough to actually not play against the Tyrannifex yet, but I've played against
Arrestive Crusher.
I've played against data sheets that are similar to a Tyrannifex to know exactly how it can go.
I mean, it's basically like a different flavored Gladiator or Lancer without the rerolls for wildly more durable.
Yeah, way more durable. Also, hits on 2s pretty easily, so there's that.
Yep.
All right. Well, that is a pretty neat monster. It'd be weird if Tyranids had better ones.
In fact, they do. We have, at number 9, we have the Maliceptor.
So the Maliceptor is just deceptively tanky.
He's so annoying.
He is just, I've never met a bug I hated more.
I every time I see one of these stupid things, I'm like, can I like physically smash it with a hammer so I don't have to worry about it?
Yeah, but you can't because it won't die. No, so it is 14 wounds at toughness 11 with a 3-up, 4-up invuln, which is the point that's really annoying.
Yeah.
Invuln on a model like that is just obnoxious, and you can give it a 5-up feel no pain in Invasion Fleet, and it does get +1 to hit and then eventually +1 to wound in Crusher for being wounded, which is pretty solid. It's just toughness 11 and a 4-up invuln and 14 wounds is just Those numbers are too high.
Yeah.
They're just too high. It should be toughness 10 with a 5-up invuln and like 12
So
wounds.
like Angron does not kill
That's
this
my
guy on
personal.
average.
It's very swingy. But the fact that we're even in that conversation, I mean, the 4-up invuln means anything can happen.
Yeah.
And then it has an aura, which let me make sure I'm getting this right. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this model, every time a model in that unit makes an attack, -1 to hit, straight up.
That's really good.
And if the enemy unit is below half strength, -1 to wound.
That's also really good.
So it's pretty easy. So -1 to hit is just, as we said with the Keeper of Secrets.
Really annoying.
Really annoying. And this guy can extend that aura, especially for melee armies, over a bunch of your other bugs.
Yeah.
So that when your opponent charges you, they're -1 to hit. Probably not going to be -1 to wound, but I imagine it comes up every, once in a blue
So
moon.
one thing we talked a lot about is like if there's like the sustained combats, right? Like if a bunch of 8-bound are fighting this guy for a couple turns, after a certain point, if it's like a unit of 3 8-bound, and then he's down to like 4 wounds and there's 1 8-bound left, that 8-bound's now -1 to wound, and that actually is relevant.
Yeah, that can make a difference. This dude also is deceptively good in combat, I think is the right way to put it. Not like amazing in combat. It's 3 attacks at strength 9, AP2 damage, D6 +1.
That's
But
enough though.
It does most of its damage in shooting.
Yes.
And so when you close the gap, it's like, ooh, I killed 2 of your 8-bound with my massive scything talons. And I'm like, I did not need this today. I did not need this thing to have relevant combat. Or 6 attacks at 7-1-2, which is enough to like make you sad that you got into combat with it.
Yeah,
'cause
you
it's
can't
not
you can't
free.
like tag this unit for free.
Yeah, it's not like tagging most like vehicles.
The Tran effects you can just like bump into and it's fine.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
4 attacks at 8-0-2.
Who cares?
This thing might legitimately just do half damage to your tank and then
Or
finish
kill
it off.
like 2 Blade Guard, 2 Exalted, or like 4 or 5 Space Marines.
Yep, and it is +1 strength because it is Synapse, and it's always in its own range, which does matter because its strike goes to strength 10 and its sweep goes to strength 8, both of which are good breakpoints.
Yes.
But then we haven't talked about its gun, and its gun is pretty good. Its gun only 18-inch range, but blast D6 +3 at strength 10, AP 2, damage 3. And just having a scads of damage 3, especially at strength 10 coming out, is legitimately good. This thing is a monster that is the sum of its, like, greater than the sum of its parts. It's
100%.
not... Each thing, like, it doesn't shoot that great. It doesn't fight that great. Its buff isn't insane. Its durability is quite good.
But not crazy.
Not enough to make me be like, wow, that's insane. But it just does not go away. And it just shoots you, and it fights you, and it shoots you, and it puts its aura on you, and it shoots you, and it's still there.
It's also
and
not
on
that
an
expensive,
objective.
right?
No, it's 170.
Yeah.
And it's OC4.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is the perfect bug to deploy on the line and run at your opponent with. Because it's really annoying. It does good damage. It's just like pretty good. It also loves the 5 of Fuel No Pain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I do think that's the best way of saying it, Alex, is it's a mid-quality offense on an above-average durability for a bargain price, honestly.
I know a lot of armies that would totally just take this unit.
The Maleceptor also causes me the single most, like, aneurysms possible out of a Tyranid unit. Like, this one is my least favorite Tyranid unit. The Riptide is my least favorite Tau unit for the same reason, which is that I swear to God they pass 80% 4-ups.
The Riptide actually has like 25 wounds.
Yeah, and the Maleceptor has like an infinity number of wounds. I don't know how this happens. But just like with a 5-up Feel No Pain, the amount of damage you have to do to this thing is legitimately you have to do 21 wounds to it if it is a 5-up Feel No Pain.
Yeah.
And it has a 4-up invuln.
No, you have to dedicate like 2 or 3 of your armies like good shooting units to kill one Maleceptor.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Like Angron should rip it in half, but totally might not. Because he's -1 to hit and full rerolls, sure. And if they just pass like 6 of 9 invulns, which can happen, and then they pass a bunch of Feel No Pains, like, oh, they took 8 damage.
Lives. There.
I've watched what's his face? Scarbrand. I've watched Scarbrand go into a Maleceptor 2 turns in a row and not kill it.
Yep.
He's flat 6 damage, Quentin. He's flat 6 damage.
You know who's not flat 6 damage?
Our number
7?
8.
No, our number 8.
8. Our number 8
is Fate Weaver.
Yes.
Another one of the big glow ups in the new Pariah Nexus changes.
Yes. Kairos Fate Weaver went from, meh to hero.
Yeah. So his big change. So Fate Weaver does a couple things. He's like an okay durable demon. He gets you CP back on like a weird dice roll that's like equal to the battle round. And then he's a Vect Aura is the big thing.
So he is a 12-inch aura of every single stratagem that targets an enemy unit within 12 inches of him. Cost 1 more.
Yep, and he is a big base,
Yes.
and he is durable.
Yes, he is.
So he's very annoying for this.
I went on this rant during, I think, the top 10 characters, or maybe the top 10 vehicles.
Yes.
With Bjorn. But Vect is bananas
It's
right
very
now.
good. Very good.
If it is on a Calidus who dies to the first like thing that looks at her,
Yeah.
then sure, it's fine. Probably fairly
Or
balanced.
even like Cypher, right? They have to like hide behind a wall. You can play around it pretty easily. But
yeah. But if it's on something that is tough and is going to be there for several rounds, it is actually gross.
Yep.
And this is Fate Weaver and this is Bjorn. And also the Swarmlord, who did not make the list.
yeah.
Basically, the game is not equipped, like the economy of CP for every army is not equipped to handle your strats costing 1 more.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. Like, so if you have 3 CP and you want to use 3 strats, that's fine, right? Each strat is 1 CP, you're good. If you have 3 CP and you're in Vector, so all your strats costs 2 CP, you get to use 1 strat.
Yep. It's not after you use it, they start to cost more. No, it's before you use it, they cost more. And if you can't afford it, you can't use the strat at all.
So like Interrupt is 3, Overwatch is 2. Like, yeah, your CP economy just gets like shattered.
Grenades are 2. There's 3 mortal wounds worth 2 CP. Didn't think so.
Yeah.
And oftentimes he is like the command and control node in the middle of a demon army. So when you have a demon ball and he's in the middle of it, if your opponent has anything close range that wants to deal with your demons, they can forget about that, actually.
Yeah, if you have like him and then Keepers and then another demon we're going to be talking about later on this list, he makes them all a lot more durable.
Yes. And
His shooting is also not awful.
it's not terrible.
It's indirect, which is nice.
It is indirect. Most of the time, I think you want to shoot it direct because you get on
probably.
2s, not 4s. But it is, if I remember correctly, 6 plus D3 shots. It's strength 9. You can make that 10 if you're near a Lord of Change. AP 3 damage D3.
It's like pretty solid.
It is a pretty solid gun.
Yeah.
If it goes to strength 10, you actually can start cracking vehicles with it, which is pretty neat. And it's also really good for ripping apart like elite infantry.
Yeah.
Things of that nature. Just good for pouring fire into them, which is pretty nice. His combat is nothing to write home about, although it could be 6 damage because it is 2D. It's like AP1 or something, 2D3 damage.
Yeah.
Or AP2. I think it's AP2, 2D3 damage.
He is very similar to the Maleceptor in that like tagging him is not free.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not like amazing, but it's not free. And
No,
that
he's
is
not
what's
going to like
important.
kickflip a knight. Like he's not Angron. But
No, not many people are.
no, it's fair.
But what he will do is just ruin your day.
Yeah.
He's also not that expensive, and he is 20 wounds at toughness 10 with a 4-up invuln.
And again, demonic invulnerability, all those things. He
Yep.
can heal.
And 4-up invuln is just very swingy on a high toughness target because you only have so many. The things that kill high toughness targets are high strength attacks.
Yep.
High strength attacks are like D6 plus 2 damage or whatever. And by definition, you don't have a lot of wounds off of those. You're like, here, take 2 saves. And that means a 4-up invuln means your entire turn of anti-tank might do half damage to this guy.
Might do nothing.
Might do nothing.
Yep.
It might kill him,
Yeah.
but it might do nothing.
I mean-
and you don't know.
How many times has your opponent handed you 3 4-up invulns and you pass all 3?
It happens.
Like that's just a thing that can happen.
It just is a thing that can happen. CP reroll becomes very efficient at that point.
Yep.
But how many times have I, shot Nick with like 2 Caladius, handed him 7 saves, and he just goes, well, I failed 1 of them. And I'm like, well, my turn didn't do anything. That was sick. And that's because of a 4-up invuln.
Yep.
Because that can just happen. Could he fail 6 of them and die? Yes.
Yes.
But the fact that you have a 4-up invuln means that once they've gotten to the point where they have the right weapon on the right target, it can still has a chance just to not work.
One thing I also
that is
like
valuable.
about Fate Weaver is his damage isn't like outstanding. But a lot of times it means he's never worth shooting because he takes a lot of effort to kill. And there's other monsters in your face. So like you said, his Vector Aura will be applied multiple turns.
Yep. And your opponent just honestly, you can get aggressive with Fate Weaver.
Yep.
Jam him into the middle of your opponent's army as the other monsters are like on every primary objective and also ready to attack. And if they just turn their army under a Vectora and try to deal with Fate Weaver, they'll probably get him.
Probably.
But they will have done nothing else, and they will have burned a ton of CP, and then you get to either jump them or score 15 on primary and take away their primary and set up for future turns. It's really good.
Yep.
It's really good. Because he's also cheap. I think he's like 275 if I remember correctly. He's in that ballpark. It's been a second since I made a list with him in it, but he's not that expensive for a guy who's 20 wounds with 4 purple.
Toughness high.
Toughness 10.
Yeah. All right, moving on to number 7, we have our second Catan on the list, the Transcendent Catan.
Yes, the Transcendent Catan solves the problem of Catans.
Yep.
He teleport.
Yep. So he moves 6 as well, but instead of advancing, you can just pick him up and put him somewhere else.
And his gun has assault.
Yep. So he can't charge after you do that because it's instead of advancing.
Yes, or it might just say you can't charge. I don't remember. I believe it is when you advance.
Instead of moving, you pick him up and put him down. So I know you can't charge afterwards.
Yeah, you can't charge, and you can only shoot his gun because it's assault.
Yeah.
But he gets to teleport around the board.
Yes.
He did get worse because actions, he can no longer do actions after teleporting.
Which is not great, but what you still get is really good. So his gun is 6 shots at 8-2 D3, hitting on 2, sustained hits D3 or...
Sustained hits 1.
Sustained hits 1.
Yeah. And then his combat is, let's see if I got this right, 8 attacks at strength 9, AP 3, D6 damage with sustained hits.
Yeah. So he shoots pretty hard and fights pretty hard and is the exact same durability as the Nightbringer, so you can go back in time and watch our rant on that. But what I really like about him is you can pick him up and put him in a corner of the board, because again, he's not that big, he's one model, and be like, I'm going to shoot you, and then I'm going to vibe here, and then I'm going to fight you. And you don't have the resources in this corner of the board to direct firepower at me, because whatever 1 tank and 2 skirmish pieces is not going to kill a Catan.
Yep, and you actually do 0 damage for
because
trying.
I healed,
right? It's not like, oh, I'll shoot you for a couple turns and drop you. It's like, nope. If you don't have the resources to one round it, you might as well not even try. He's also pretty good to drop 9 away from an objective and just be like, next turn, that's mine.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, next turn, I will get that one.
One thing I really like about this guy is you can throw him out early. Shoot, be annoying, get some points or whatever. Like if you get engaged or extend battle lines, you'd be like, okay, he's on this objective. Oh, you shot and did 8 damage to him. Okay, it's turn 2. I'm going to teleport him back next to my reanimator. Okay, on turn 3, he heals. Turn 4, he heals. Okay, he's back out again. But you can do that from a much larger range than Nightbringer can do that.
Yeah, well, because they shoot it, you heal D3. So let's say he's dropped to 4. He heals to 6. He just hops next to the reanimator.
Yep.
He heals for 4. He's up to 10. Now he's back in. He doesn't even need to take 2 turns off. He takes 1. And he's just back in.
Yeah.
He's also really, really good in multiples.
Yes, he is really. I like 2 of these. 2 of these guys can crush a flank by themselves.
Oh yeah, 100%. They can take objectives. They're also the kind of offense where, again, the same kind of offense as a lot of these, like the Maliceptor or things like that, where it's enough offense that you can't ignore it, but enough defense that you can't kill it.
His melee is notably better than the others, though. His melee is actually real.
Yeah, than the other
Maliceptor, Fate Weaver,
monsters.
Yeah.
He is 275.
Yes, he is. He's very expensive,
but in that ballpark. But he is absurdly tough, and he has melee and shooting that means you can't ignore him. But he has a durability that says you have to ignore him.
Yes,
and that is that's a fine line to tread for sure. So what that means is that especially if you have multiples of these breathing down your neck, you're just like, well, okay, here's the game plan. I'm going to devote my entire army to maybe killing 1. No, wait, that's bad. Okay, I'm going to ignore it. Wait, they took all the objectives. And then you lose.
Yep. Yeah, no, I quite like this guy.
Yeah, he's pretty,
I think he's my
neat.
favorite of the Catan.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I like his teleport's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just get to teleport anywhere you want. You just I want to be over there. I'm over there now.
Necrons also have some medium speed units, but historically are quite a slow army.
Yeah.
If you're running warriors especially, and he solves that problem.
Yep. And teleport around and do stuff.
All
right, next up
moving on to number 6.
I think the last Tyranid unit.
I think so.
Is the Exocrine.
The Exocrine.
So I asked John, I was like, hey, buddy, I know what these units do, but I need you to tell me what order should we put them in, right? Which 3 should we pick? Because we had 3 spots on the list for Tyranid bugs. And we were like, I was like, which 3 should I pick and in what order? And he picked Exocrine as the best one. And it's because it is cheap as hell.
What is it, 140 or 150?
It's 135, I think.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'll double check that just to make sure, because that sounds, even though I know that's right, it sounds wrong to me.
Every time I like look at an exocrine and I'm like, so that's like 160, 170, and John's like, no, it's like
135.
135, yeah.
Yeah. So it got upgraded recently. It is now strength 9 on its blast,
which is really big.
36-inch range, heavy, D6 plus 3 shots blast. It's strength 9, AP 3, damage 3.
That's a very respectable gun. You can get lethal hits now too, right?
Very respectable gun. It is lethal hits near a hive tyrant. It is assault near a hive tyrant, both of which are very important.
He's also not like free to kill. He's 14 wounds at what, toughness?
Toughness 10.
Yeah,
Toughness
like
10.
he's like difficult to kill.
Decent access to a 5-up feel no pain.
Yeah.
If you're 14 wounds with a 5-up feel no pain, you are 135, Quentin.
Yeah.
One CP, this thing could be functionally 21 wounds.
This thing is, it is not as durable as a Maliceptor. It's not as durable as a Tranifex, but it is so cheap and it shoots pretty hard at range. 3 of these things is what, like 390s? It's less than 400 points for 3 of these things.
It's 405.
405, sorry.
Yes.
That make like a firing bank and just like spray your opponent with like acid.
It's pretty damn cheap.
Yeah.
135 is... Listen, if this thing was like 160, it'd be a good monster. It might even make the list. Who knows? Probably be an honorable mention.
It'd be an honorable mention. It'd be a decent shooting piece.
135 is bananas.
Yes.
And its gun is now just kind of good into basically everything. It has lethal hits. You can easily give it ignores cover with a Pyrovore.
Also, let's not forget that if it hits you, their whole army rerolls 1s.
Yes, rerolls 1s to hit against you. So it shoots you with the Exocrine, drops you low, and the Maliceptor just comes in from the top rope and just ta-da!
Or it's kind of like a worse Castigator, and that like the first one shoots you, and then the next one gets real 1s.
Yeah. I mean, the Castigator is definitely better than the Exocrine.
But sure,
like,
I mean,
Exocrine's 135, dude. 135.
I mean, like the Castigator is better than the Exocrine, but the Castigator might be the best unit in the game.
One of them for sure. Yeah, it's just all of its numbers again are just a little too high. Toughness 10, 14 wounds, OC 4.
How many Bright Lances does it take on average to kill this thing?
You don't want to know the answer to that.
It's like a bunch, right?
If it's in cover, it gets 5-ups.
Yeah, it's got to be like 10.
So are we talking hitting on 3s?
Hitting on 3s.
So, I mean, you need to do... let's backtrack. You need to do 21 wounds because that was a 5 of feel no pain in at least one of the detachments.
Let's assume it doesn't. Just a base Exocrine.
Just does not have it. So 14 wounds. So that means you realistically need
to get 3 through.
You need to get... you on average need to get 3 through.
So you need to hand him 4 or 5 saves.
4 or 5 saves, which means you need to shoot him with like 8 or 9 Bright Lances.
That's like most of your army's Bright Lances.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it might be more than that. It might be like 9 Bright Lances, 10 Bright Lances.
And if they go a little hot on saves, you're a little bad on hits and wounds. Like, this is a 135 point monster.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if it is an invasion fleet and it has a 5-up, have fun with that.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we get to our top 5, we're going to take a minute and have a word from our sponsors. All right, heading into our top 5, we have another monster that is like way too tough for its cost, the Mutalith Vortex Beast.
All right, well, I believe I know this one off the top of my head without having to consult no phone. All right, the Mutalith has ridiculous stats, and they just dropped it to 150.
Why is it cheaper than it was, Jack? This thing was insane before.
It's because GW loves me. That's why. Listen, Mutaliths are one of my favorite things in that codex because they just bounce damage. They just do it, Quentin.
They shoot way better than they should. They fight better than they should. Their aura is incredible. Their buff is incredible. They're durable.
Yeah. We'll get to that. Let's go through it first. So first up, the thing you need to notice about a Mutalith is that its durability is really, really good. It's toughness 10, only a 4-up armor save, which is its Achilles heel.
Yes.
Only a 4-up armor save, but a 5-up invuln and a 5-up feel no pain on 13 wounds.
Yeah.
means it's basically, remember all of those calculations we were doing on the Exochrome? We're like, well, if it has a feel no pain, it's going to get ridiculously durable.
Yeah.
This one has it baked in. So it just has the 5-up feel no pain at all times, no matter what.
So we're back to looking at like 13 or 14 bright lances to kill this thing.
Oh yeah, something like that. It also has a 5-up invuln, so you can't catch it out of cover. You can't get it in combat. You know, there's no like bright lances hit, meltaguns hit. You have a 5-up invuln.
Yeah.
Which can just blank damage on the front half, and then the feel no pain blanks damage on the back half.
Yeah, one thing we kind of joke about, but it's really true, is if you're rolling 2 sets of dice, you have 2 opportunities to scam your opponent.
Yes.
Right, like you can, if you roll good on invulns or on feel no pains, you've then like negated an output of damage.
Yeah, so dice spikes are a real part of 40k, and pretending that every activation is average is not how the game actually plays on the table.
Yeah.
So this sort of datasheet is the exact sort of datasheet that is fishing to just spike damage, to spike saves.
Yeah, it's like, I think it was Brian Sipe who called it a scam factory when we played last time.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like you can line up as, you're like, I lined up an activation and I was like, I should kill you here. And he was like, you probably should. And then I was like, okay, take 8 saves or whatever, like damage high. And he was like, I made 4 of those. And then I was like, okay, we'll take, 20 feel no pains. And he was like, I made 10 of those. And I was like, oh, you're alive? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, that shouldn't happen. And he was like, it shouldn't, but like it can, because these things are just very swingy.
Just can.
It just can.
It just can. If you roll hot on the invulns, then you don't have to take that many feel no pains, and you don't have to work that hard in the back half. And if you fail an average number of invulns, right, it's a bunch of things where you're not expecting them to carry the weight, but they can.
Yeah.
Where you're not expecting the invulns to go hot, but if they do, this thing just lives. It just lives. Mm-hmm. And you're not expecting the feel no pains to go hot, but if they do, again, it just lives.
Yep.
And these things living is not ideal.
No, because they actually do something.
They actually do
several
relevant
things.
Yeah, they have 2 datasheet abilities that are both very relevant for the
and their
army.
offense is real.
And their offense is real. So they have 2 datasheet abilities. One of them is at the end of the movement phase, they pulse a 6-inch aura of battle shock, and then you roll a die for every unit. And on a 1, nothing happens. On a 2 or a 3, they take A mortal. On a 4 or 5, they take D3 mortals. And on a 6, they take D6 mortals. And that's just every unit within 6 inches, end of your movement phase, every turn.
It's not like an outstanding ability. Like, you wouldn't like pay a CP for that most of the time, but you can just like, it just happens, right? So like, there's a game in the War Room where I was playing against Mike Busini's Thousand Sons, and I had like a unit of Legionnaires in combat with one of these things. And I was like, I'm feeling pretty good about this. And he was like, rolled a 6 into a 6 and just did 6 mortals and killed all the Legionnaires. And I was like, that's not good.
Yeah, it can just scam you there. Because this is the ability that it feels like it gets for free.
Yes.
Because the durability and its other rule and its weapons feel like it's like part of a cohesive whole. Mm-hmm. And then it just also randomly battle shocks you and randomly does mortals to every unit nearby.
There's also like there's a lot of really funny interactions with this thing where like if Eldar have a unit they want a Phantasm and you like move this thing next to it, I'm like, well, there's like a 30% chance you don't get to Phantasm now.
Yep. I mean, you
take
have
the battle shock test and then you Phantasm.
You have to spend a fate die on that. But most armies can't get around the battle shock check. Mm-hmm. And so just like, oops, sorry, your Terminators don't have Armor of Contempt now. Yep. Yes, they're dead.
Yeah, and it's not like a thing that you're banking on, but like it can just happen.
Yeah,
right?
You just take free damage where you get them. Everything gets chipped. Like everything nearby gets chipped. A couple things nearby get battle shocked. And now let's go into my actual turn. Yeah. Also, it has another rule, which is much more relevant to the army. It doubles the range of every Kabbalistic ritual that is performed within 6 inches of it.
That's very good.
It's very good because rituals typically have an 18-inch range, and the difference between 18-inch and 36 inches is massive. It's huge.
Yeah.
Doom bolting from just over in the next county and just going blah, blah, and just dropping a tank.
It also means a lot of times when you're like, okay, I'm going to use my rerolls. You can be like, well, do I want the rerolls on this flank or this flank? And then you can be like, I'm going to use it from the guy in the center, and he's a 36-inch aura, which is the whole table.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is really good. And then it also has decent offense. It has like 14 attacks at like 801 in combat, and I led with the worst one first.
That's not bad in the trash.
Not bad in the trash, but it also has 5 attacks at strength 9, AP2 damage, flat 4.
It's not crazy, but is enough to like beat up the last couple wounds on a Rhino.
Yep, it's also decent on like 8 bound, because 8 bound have 3 wounds and a 6-up feel no pain. Bonk.
It is once again another monster in the tagging it is not free category.
Yes. Yeah. And its guns it has one gun and it can choose which of the three it wants to use, right? It has 3 profiles. And each of them is good into a different target. One is 18-inch range, I think.
I think so.
It's 6-1-1, ignores cover, 2d6 shots auto hitting.
That's a solid heavy
flamer.
Yeah,
it's a solid flamer.
Decent Overwatch target.
It has a flamer if you want to move near it, and it has Overwatch. So randomly you have to worry about this thing just flaming your Eldar off the board or flaming your sisters off the board or something like that.
Yep.
It also has D6 plus 3 shots blast at strength 9 AP2 damage 2, which is
that is a great Marine killer.
It's a great Marine killer.
Yeah. And
then if you're feeling lucky, punk, you can take the super rail cannon.
Yeah.
That is 1 shot at strength 18 AP4 damage D6 plus 6 devastating wounds.
That is actually, for the chat, literally just a Tau railgun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just this thing's 150.
Yeah.
I have no idea why it's 150 at all.
Busts your army, shoots okay, fights okay, super tough to kill, random mortals. This thing's crazy.
Spammable.
Yeah, you take 3 of these.
Well, also because the aura effect, the pulse, it doesn't overlay onto each other. So if you put 2 mutalisks, it doesn't double trigger the pulse, right? You don't double take the mortals, you don't double take the battle shocks. It's an aura.
Yeah.
But what it does mean is that if you have multiple of these things on the board, and you really should, if you have multiple of these things on the board, there's nowhere on the board that isn't taking the pulse.
Yeah.
And at some point that does add up. Also, it's like the only thing in Thousand Suns that can routinely walk onto an objective
and stay there
and actually hold the objective, which is a huge problem that they have.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is like Thousand Suns had a lot of issues, and the Mutal Vortex at least it descended from the heavens on the wings of angels and was like, I solve all of them.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's super good.
Yeah.
And honestly, I want to just lead off every list I build with Magnus and 3 of them.
I think that's where you should start. Yeah, I think this thing is crazy.
150, they were 160, they were 145 at the start of the edition, and they were good back in the era of
Wraith
Knights and what have you.
We thought they were too good for 145 back when the Wraith Knight was a data sheet that existed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they went up to 165 and we're still pretty good.
They still took them.
Pretty good.
They still took 2.
Yep. Now they're 150. They're 5 points more than they started. And honestly, just 450, slam 3 of them in your list. There's one reason I would not take them.
Why?
They are impossible to find the models for.
Yes.
Just absolutely impossible. I went on a crusade and I found 2 after searching for 5 months. It was tough. But eventually managed to get my hands on a couple.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to number 4. I think we have our next demon on the list. We have the Great Unclean One, and we are counting this guy specifically with the enhancement of the Endless Gift.
Yeah, because that's how you see
how
him,
you
right?
Take it, yeah.
The Great Unclean One without Endless Gift is a solid data sheet.
It'd probably be an honorable mentions.
It probably would be an honorable mentions.
Yeah.
It's 230 for no reason I can figure out.
Yeah.
The thing is toughness 12 with
22 wounds?
20 wounds.
Yeah.
I believe, what's his name?
Rodigus is 22. Yeah.
This dude is toughness 12 with 20 wounds and a 6-up feel no pain.
And a 4-up invuln.
Base. And a 4-up invuln for 230. Which makes... This is 0 sense to me.
Yeah.
But when you start to say, well, he's actually 260 and he comes with a 4-up feel no pain.
But only if he's in shadows, right, Jack? Right?
Right. Yeah, only if he's near himself.
Yeah. If he's within 6 inches of himself, he gets a 4-up feel no pain.
Yeah. No, a 4-up feel no pain on a 20 wound toughness 12 monster, that's fine.
He is effectively 40 wounds.
I think he is the toughest single model in the game.
I think so.
He's got to be.
He's got to be, yeah.
He does heal, by the way.
Yeah.
If he's below half strength, he has to take battle shock checks like everybody else. And if he passes them on leadership 5, because he's in shadows range, of himself...
Yeah.
He heals D3. And those D3, by the way, have the 4 feel no pain. So it might as well be 2 D3 because it doubles the effectiveness of his wounds.
This guy is the kind of... We talk a lot about where your answer to a Catan or the Avatar is you put your whole army into him. The answer to this guy is you put your whole army into him for 2 turns.
Yes.
Yeah.
You literally take 2 turns of the game off and then this 260 point model does eventually die.
It basically means if you're playing the game, and there's a lot of other stuff, you basically just have to ignore this guy. He's just so not worth attacking.
Yep. Because Listen, a 4-up invuln into a 4-up feel no pain on toughness 12 is ridiculously tanky.
Yeah.
You could fire a whole bank of las cannons into him and nothing can happen.
Yeah.
Nothing. Right? Like, because las cannons wound. Toughness 12 is such a huge breakpoint because it means las cannons also, or the equivalent, right? Bright lances, dark lances,
wound you on
whatever.
4s or 5s.
They wound you on 4s. So now your opponent is hitting you on 3s often, wounding you on 4s. You have a 4-up, then you have a 4-up feel no pain. So if I fire a Caladius into this dude, who hits on 2s with lethal hits and full rerolls to wound, I'm still expecting to do like
4 or 5 damage.
3 damage.
Yeah.
Right? I'm expecting to get 1 through.
Yeah.
And then it halves damage essentially because it has a 4-up feel no pain.
Yeah.
So like I'm expecting to shoot this with 2 Caladius for 4 turns to put it down.
Yeah.
Basically.
It's crazy.
And actually it's not that because once you hit half health, it starts to heal D3 a turn.
Mm-hmm. So he also goes really well with like Demonic Invulnerability if he's rolling once to save, or Rodigus, who halves your OC, and you kind of like put them together as like a buddy cop movie, and they just like sit on the center objective, and they're like, I have 10 OC, I half your OC, nothing can ever touch this.
You're half move.
Half move.
So if you come nearby, if you try to like fall back, you're moving like 3. It's kind of rough.
It's big and it's slow, but it can pick up and re-deep strike 3 inches away, so like it's not actually slow.
No, it's not that slow. Its gun is so like its offense not amazing, but again not free.
No.
You can tar pit this thing. You can ram a rhino into it and make it sit for a turn.
It might kill the rhino.
Small mercies, right?
Yeah.
Like this thing is 260 with the enhancement. If I'm sacrificing a rhino to the great unclean gods every turn, like it's not good.
It's really not expensive. It's
also, it might dome the rhino. Like, it legitimately might. Especially with Rodigus telling it +1 damage against a target.
Yeah, it also can pick a target and make it -1 toughness, which is not free.
That is a big deal. Also, if you have multiple great unclean ones, and
all
several lists
target.
do, you can take a target, like you can point an enemy like Keeper of Secrets or something. If you have 3 great unclean ones, and you can make them toughness 7, and then just like walk up and beat them into the ground. Because you can point all at the same target. So you can make a land fort toughness 9.
Yep.
And then just shoot it and charge it and kill it.
Yeah, I mean, this thing's just like you would take it if it hit you with a pair of cardboard swords, but it was as tough as it was, you would take it for 260.
Yeah, like if it literally didn't do any damage at all.
Yeah. I mean, like I would take 20 wounds, the 4-up with like good OC.
OC5.
OC5, he just like sits there.
He just sits there.
Yeah.
And like, sure, will he always kill a Space Marine squad and shooting in combat? No.
He could,
Does
though.
he can. Does he need to?
No.
No, he does not.
Yeah, because the Space Marine every model in the Space Marine army has to converge on this guy for 2 full turns to kill him.
Yep. And what he's basically doing is he's on the center, unignorable. You have to do something about it or they're just scoring 1 billion points. And then like what are you going to do? You're going to sacrifice a unit to him every turn?
Yeah.
Like, that's stupid. Or are you going to turn your entire army to shoot him for 2 turns while the rest of their army does whatever the hell it wants? Mm-hmm. That's also pretty stupid. And while this dude's grinding away a unit a turn, guess what? The Keepers are doing the same exact thing. The Lord of Change is doing the similar thing. So is Fate Weaver, just like shooting one little thing to death, and all of a sudden you're out of stuff.
Yep.
And that is, it's a pretty big deal. Also, there is just nothing that kills it. Like, efficiently.
Literally nothing.
Just absolutely nothing that kills it efficiently. Is someone in the chat saying you need a Shadow Sword to counter it? I
don't think so.
I wonder how many turns it takes a Shadow Sword to kill this thing on average. It's probably like 4.
Yeah. I mean, like, whatever you think how much damage you're going to do to this thing, just be like, oh, you're not doing anything.
Well, also, if you do converge your army to kill it, that's when they're like, oh, well, I suppose I might as well spend reroll 1s to save and reroll a save. And so now I'm 4-up invuln, reroll 1s with a reroll to save as well, and a 4-up feel no pain, and toughness 12, and just forget about it. Like, you're just not killing this thing. It's obnoxious. It doesn't table you, but what it does is just grind you away, grind you, score points, and eventually you're like, I just can't keep feeding this dude.
You know what it's like? It's like one of those, like, you ever get, when you were a kid, like the rock tumbler kits? And you would get, like, rough rocks and you'd put it in this machine and it would like spin them for a while and then come out like clickety clack shiny.
Yeah.
It's like that, but with your opponent's army.
Yeah. And like, yeah, sure. It's got a lot of counterplay to it. You can tie it up. It doesn't do the most damage. You can move block it. There's a lot of counterplay to this thing, But because it's 260 and ridiculously tanky, there's no good counterplay to it. The options are there for you to take, but they're bad.
Yeah. I mean, like, we're talking about this guy as if he's like a major part of your list, but you're like, you could just swap him out for like one battle tank. Right. Like, he's like, it's like the equivalent in your opponent's army is like one Leman Russ. A little more than that. But
a bit more than that. Yeah. But like, not two Leman Russes, I'll tell you that much. Even the cheap ones.
Yeah.
And like, he's basically as much cost as like a land fortress.
Yeah.
Or a Dorn or something like that. And he is like twice as tough.
Yeah.
Legitimately.
Easily.
And so I think he's pretty good. Apparently Shalaxi takes 3 turns on average to kill him.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I honestly don't know if that includes the healing in between once you get to half strength. Because he's not fragile when he's at 9 wounds, but he will heal D3 on a 5-up.
So we've talked a lot about monsters on this list who are like, they do some pretty good damage and they're really tanky. Our next 3 monsters are pretty tanky and also will beat your face in.
Yes.
Our number 3 spot, we have, I think, my favorite monster in the entire game, the Avatar of Khaine.
This one is my second favorite monster. I painted one up. I spent a lot of time painting this model up. I'm very proud of it. I love the Avatar. I've played him a bunch. You've played him a bunch. We're both Avatar stans over here.
Can I talk about the Avatar?
You absolutely can.
Okay, so the Avatar is 335 points. What you get for that, he has 14 wounds at toughness 12, 2-up, 4-up, half damage, with access to -1 to hit and wound, and fate dice. So he's not quite as tough as the Guo, but he is up there. He is very, very tough. Probably the second toughest single model in the game.
Might be. There are some things that can get to him, like grenades.
He has no mortal wound protection.
But he has a lot of, well, we'll cover it.
Yeah. He moves 10, he's quite fast. He has a +1 to advance and charge aura. So like he moves 10, then he charges at +1 with a fate die. So he's blisteringly fast. Yeah. If you're within 8 inches, he just a guarantee makes the charge.
Yeah. No, if you are within 18 of him, if you're within 18, he auto bangs the charge.
Yeah.
Against Thousand Suns when I played him into Mike, I put him in reserves, brought him on the side of the board, and on a 2-up made the charge because he's +1 to charge, sub in a fate die, I needed a 9.
Yep.
So 2-up.
And then in combat, he has 6 attacks hitting on 2s at 14 for D6 +2 with a hit and a wound reroll, which is the point where he's like, I'm going to charge 2 tanks and kill both reliably. And then in shooting, he's 1 shot, don't worry, at 16 for D6 +2 with sustained hits D3, but you have fate dice. So you're like, you came near me, I'm going to Overwatch a Redemptor to death. Then I'm going to walk forward and kill another Redemptor in shooting. Then I'm going to charge and kill this Redemptor. So he's like pinballing around the table, killing like greater demons and mainline battle tanks, and is like so hard to kill.
Yeah. Well, -1 to hit and wound and a 2-up, 4-up and half damage is just... And then also the first save is free because you have fate dice is really stupid.
Well, the first like good save, right?
Yeah, the first like multi-melta, I passed that.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal, especially since the multi-meltas are going to be hitting on 4s, wounding on 6s.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big deal. His shooting is really good, and it means that there's not like a great amount of counterplay to it.
No.
Like, sure, one thing that can one-round the Avatar of Khaine is like...
The Eradicator brick?
The Eradicator brick, but you're just going to lose 3 for trying.
The also Eradicator brick, it's on 4s and wounds on 6s. So, like, it totally couldn't.
It totally might not.
Yeah.
And also you're going to lose 3 on the way in.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of trying.
For freezies. Yeah. I mean, like, his Overwatch might be the best Overwatch in the game.
It's one of them. It's not great into, like... There are some things it's not that good into, right?
It's not good like Dominions or Hordes, yeah.
But like he'll reliably overwatch a main battle tank off the board. So like if he charges in and hits something to death, right? Shoots one thing to death, charges another thing to death.
Yeah.
He can just tell like 4 tanks, don't move.
Yep.
Just don't move. If you move, I will blow you up.
Yeah, or like, I mean, even if you don't, right? You get like 2 through on average, and then he's at like 2.
Yep.
Or the tank is. Yeah, I mean, he's just like, he shoots and fights really hard and is very durable.
Yes. So there's a common misconception, especially in our Discord, that the Avatar is not worth it if your opponent has the capability of killing him.
Yeah, so he does die. He has no mortal protections and only 14 wounds. So he dies very easily, like grenades and tank shocks and things like that.
Well, very easily is a bit of a stretch, but like...
You can drag him down.
Yeah, you can drag him down. And if your opponent... any opponent worth anything at all will theoretically have the capability to bring the Avatar down.
Yeah.
Theoretically. That's the same for any unit, right?
Yeah.
Like, your opponent can bring down almost anything except for, like, the Great Unclean One in a turn, basically. But if you use this guy smart, it does not matter. No. It does not matter. Because what you do is they might be able to deal with him in macro, right? If they have, like, an entire army, you can just dump attacks into him or throw a grenade, charge him with the right thing to do charge mortals, then hit him with, like, 2 units to mitigate the, interrupt or whatever. Right? If they get their perfect dream engage, they'll put the Avatar down.
Yeah.
But if you find is not even that hard, you just find a micro pocket they can't deal with him in. And you just slam the Avatar into that flank.
And can't deal with isn't like he's not warp spiders, right? It's not like he's not getting shot back. It's like he's not getting shot back by 6 things.
Right. Like I put him on an objective, and my opponent was playing Admech and had a Laz Chicken, an Onager, and like 2 Scorpius tanks. Yeah. And was like, oh, I can see him there. I'm like, I know. Yeah, that's fine. I took 2 damage, Clinton. I was -1 to hit and -1 to wound, and I auto-passed the first big save.
Yeah.
And I passed like 2 of 3 other ones natively, and it was just like, I took 2.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, that's bad. Right? Because like conventional damage bounces clean off. And if you play with the Avatar enough, you know what he can take and what he cannot. And he can take almost anything, to be clear. If he just goes in a flank, especially on turn the rest of your army does something, he will just bowling ball clean through the entire side of the board.
Yeah.
Just, I had him kill like 5 Lehman Russes in a game against Guard. Because he just went in, shot 1 to death, charged 1 to death, overwatched 1 to death, was -1 to hit and wound in the center of his army, auto-passed the first multi-melta, took like 4 damage, was down to 10, and just bowling balled through, shot another, charged another, and was just like, all right, the game's over.
Yeah, I mean, he's also like moves fast and he's OC5. Like, he's just very, very good. He also does another thing the Eldar need him to do, which is like, Eldar have a lot of like, you can't hit me in the face. And then if they like go and hit you in the face, the Avatar walks out and like kills 3 units and tags another one.
Yep. And your opponent, it's not can your opponent kill it?
Yeah.
It's your opponent needs to be like, they need to come correct.
Yes.
And if they're not in a position where they can be like, all right, I have all my units synchronized up to deal with the Avatar, because that's not how 40k works, then they just can't deal with him. And again, bowling ball.
Yeah.
And like, sure, Assault Intercessors with jump axes, someone points out in the chat, is a very good unit for dealing with him.
They're probably the best unit in the game for killing him per point.
Right.
Yeah.
But you move 10, they move 12, you shoot and have a fate die charge. It's not crazy that you're the one who hits them first and picks them up.
I mean, also, like, they throw a grenade and do 3. Now you're at 11. They charge you. Let's see how they get 3. Now you're at 8. And they fight you and do, like, 1 more. Now you're at 7. They lose their squad. You still have half an Avatar left.
Yep.
Right?
And, yeah, like, I've played a game where the Avatar went around a corner and shot a unit mostly to death, and then I finished it off with something else, and it was like, that was your only thing in this zip code that could, like, efficiently deal with the Avatar. So sorry, you can't deal with him now. I guess I will just precision out your the sanguinary priest in the center of the unit, and then proceed to take like no damage back, and then just sweep the unit to death.
So the Avatar does have one big weakness. He does not come back to life. And that is not a problem our number 2 spot has. We have Angron. This is one of your favorites.
Oh, Angron is my favorite monster. He's my boy, and he's on my side for sure. Angron is so unbelievably good.
Yes.
He's like a certain other person on this list where he is like the core of the list.
Oh yeah, like the list like starts with Angron.
Yeah, it revolves around him. It starts with him. He is so good. So let's cover what he does best, which is move fast and hits hard. Right?
Yeah.
He moves very, very fast, and he hits very, very hard. There is no like, oh, I'm sure I'm going to live through Angron. That's going to be fine. Don't worry about it, fellas. No. So he moves 14 base. If you want, you can get him to move 22 in charge.
So fast.
Yes.
He also flies, and 22 is the point where you can like you gain distance by going up and over terrain pieces.
Yep, depending on how far away you are from them. Also, he can jump move blocks. He can jump things that are in the way.
Yeah.
So he's move 14. He takes buffs incredibly well, which means that he can, be +2 moves. So he moves 16 and advances and charges, and then 1 CP flat advance 6. So that's 22 inches.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, you probably won't have +2 move and advance and charge up that often.
Yeah.
Because you want feel no pain. You want other things like that. But moving 20 and charging is insanely fast.
Yeah. He's
with fly. And so
fast.
he's the fastest thing in the army. He's the fastest melee unit in the game almost.
Yeah.
It might actually be. And he does hit absurdly hard. On the charge, he is 9 attacks at strength 17, AP 4, damage D6 +2. He has a reroll hits aura, which is almost always what he picks. And that applies to himself as well as everything within 6 inches. So he'll reroll hits with his 9 attacks. He can be +1 to wound. He can be reroll 1s to wound. He can be sustained hits. I have mathed it out. He, on average, I've rolled this out several times actually, splits attacks between 2 big knights and kills both every time.
Yeah, and that was something I said earlier was about a lot of these monsters. It doesn't kill a knight or anything, but this guy kills 2 knights every time.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Hitting on 2s, full rerolls sustained, wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s, just gone. And you don't even need all of those buffs to kill things, right? That just kills 2. That's theoretical. If your opponent leaves 2 knights next to each other, he'll kill both, but your opponent then, when you tell them that, won't do that, and then you don't need every buff in the world to kill a knight.
Yeah, if you play into knights, for example, right? The game starts, and Angron goes and tackles Canis Rex, and Canis Rex is now dead.
Yep, and now they have to deal with Angron.
Yeah.
Now they have to deal with Angron.
Or Angron flies in and kills the Wraith Knight, or all the tank commanders, or the Rogel Dorn.
Or 3 armigers.
3 armigers.
Which is something I've mathed out also he does on average, is if they're near each other, he's just all 3 dead.
Yeah, he turn 1 or turn 2 or whatever, flies in and just kills whatever the biggest, scariest thing in your opponent's army is, no questions asked, tags 3 other things, and it's I'm still 16 wounds with 2 up, 4 up.
Yep, toughness 11
Yeah.
to OC 6.
Yeah.
Because he's a Primarch.
Yeah.
Yeah. He hits absurdly hard. He also has a sweep attack, which sometimes is better. Oftentimes you use the smash. Mm-hmm. But he goes in and he flips the biggest thing on your opponent's side basically every time. Or they have to leave that thing back.
Yep.
Really far
or
back.
Surrounded by a bunch of stuff.
Or something they don't want to do.
Yeah.
He moves very quick. And he is not that durable. But he is durable enough that it takes the pressure off everything else in your army. So there's often an Angron, I hate the term distraction Carnifex.
Yeah.
Because distraction Carnifex has a connotation that it's a mistake to target.
Yes.
And I assume if my opponent is making obvious targeting errors, that I probably don't have a problem in that game anyway, so I don't like the term distraction Carnifex.
Yeah.
If I'm including something as noob bait, I probably don't want it in my army.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't have a problem with noobs. I don't have a problem with people who make obvious, targeting decisions.
Yes.
So, why would I include something that's noob bait in there?
Yeah.
Angron is the opposite of that.
No.
You have to target him.
It's really weird because, if you listen to a lot of my talk in, the War Room, I'll talk about how shooting Angron is the wrong answer. But it's for a reason we're going to talk about later. It's not that, shooting Angron is, a bad thing that, you shot Angron. Because, he's still there and is still, murdering your army. You just kind of have to ignore him for a couple of turns and then but sacrifice 2 units a turn to tie him up as he rips your army in half simply because of his main ability, which is he comes back to life.
That's actually his secondary ability.
It's okay. Sorry. His secondary ability is you get your 400-point model back for free.
Yes, 415. Thank you. Yeah. No, it's great. So the thing is, if you zip Angron into their army,
yes.
You don't put it next to things that would just kill it for free.
Yeah.
Right? You don't put it next to a thing that isn't activated anyway. But if you YOLO him into a tank commander, kill it, and are now the closest thing to his home objective, to his other tank commanders, to whatever the hell else is in his army, and he does not shoot you, Angron rips 2 more tanks in half, following turn, rips the last remaining tank in half, takes the board over, takes your home objective, you lose the game.
Yeah.
But if you turn every gun up and shoot him,
you probably kill him.
Free to kill. He is surprisingly fragile.
Yeah.
But he is not free to kill. He is toughness 11 with 16 wounds, a 2-up, 4-up, and a 6-up feel no pain quite often. Basically all the time. I say quite often, like I don't pick that every single time. Yeah. What that means is, and -1 damage in combat for the record, which I will cover in a hot second. I have played Angron more than almost any other unit in the game in 10th edition, and I have some complicated opinions on him. They all boil down to he's awesome, though.
Yes.
Basically, you can kill him. He's the sort of unit where if you turn your army on him, he will die, even after you've been cracked.
Yeah.
But then the, 18 8-bound and Invocatus and whatever else is in your army will just
go for free.
Steamroller them.
Yes.
Because what happens on a turn that Angron goes in is he jumps their front lines and hits their back lines really badly and cripples something that they needed. And then your army hits their front lines and just scoops all of it, picks it all up.
Yeah.
So now, if they don't have front lines anymore, if they turn their army to kill Angron, your army murders them. And maybe gets Angron back. We'll cover that in a second. But if they don't target Angron, Angron will bop around just being like, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead. You two are together. You're both dead. Like, you can't ignore him.
No.
But you have to ignore him. But you can't. But you have to. Because he can come back. If you roll 3 6s on the Blood Tithe table, you get Angron back into strategic reserves. If you get Angron back into strategic reserves and it's your opponent's turn, you can immediately rapid ingress him. A thing I have done, it is backbreaking. Nobody enjoys except me, but I enjoyed it a lot.
There are a lot of World Eaters games where it's like, man, everything's dead, nothing happens. It's turn 3, Angron's back and immediately on the table.
Yep, and
full health.
Wins the game on the spot.
Almost the game just ends immediately.
Both armies are crippled, and here's a full strength Primarch on the board. Thank you very much for playing.
Inside your opponent's army.
Also, for what it's worth, the 666 is not a result on the table.
Yeah.
So that means you do have to spend the dice, but you still get 2 other things off that chart, which, given how easy it is to get, the feel no pain and sustained hits and +2 move or whatever, it is fairly likely you will just pick 2 of those. You have them. Also, Angron's back. Get wrecked.
Yeah.
He is also he plays a vital role in World Eaters as well for 2 reasons. One, he hands out reroll hits.
Which is huge.
When your opponent is really durable, you oftentimes will need reroll hits to power through it.
Yeah.
I've noticed that, especially with things like Death Guard, who can be -2 to hit. Like, you need reroll hits to power through that. Reroll hits to power through like -1 damage or things of that nature. You just need it, and you have it. There you go. Also, he plays another vital role of he is the thing that can eat an interrupt. He's the thing that can eat a fight first. He's the thing that can eat a heavy damage activation without falling down.
Yeah.
Because he has -1 damage access. And a unit of Exalted 8-bound taking a really heavy interrupt with -1 damage will probably live. They're very tough. They made our top 10 units tier list.
Yeah, but like then you have 3 of 6 8-bound.
Yeah, you have 3 of 6, 2 of 6, whatever left. You lived technically, but you're not going to do the job the army needs you to do that turn.
Yeah.
Right? Angron can take a really serious melee activation, like interrupted on by 5 Deathwing Knights, right?
Yes.
Something to that effect. Interrupted on or fought first by a unit of 10 Plague Marines with sustained lethal 5s,
or the Harlequin Troop or something like that.
Or the Harlequin Troop. Well, that's a bad example because it's 1 damage already.
Yeah.
But he can take that interrupt or that fight first with the -1 damage, and he'll just be at like 8 wounds, 6 wounds.
Still basically at full efficiency.
He will still murder the thing you went into.
Yeah.
Which is what matters. On your go turn, you need to make sure your opponent's key targets are removed. You're going to take some amount of damage from an interrupt. You're going to take some amount of damage from a fight first. That's priced into your turn. But what you need their fight first or their interrupt to do is you need it to not cripple the thing that you sent to go kill their thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because if they fight first or interrupt, cripple your thing down to where you don't kill them, then it goes into their turn. That's a resource they have that you needed them to not have.
Yeah.
Angron can go into those, -1 damage, take damage, be fine, tank through it, remove their unit, and force them to deal with it.
Yeah.
Which is vital because you don't have like a ton of ways to get around interrupts and fight firsts because you're a largely pure melee army. I mean, Forge Fiends are legitimately really good in that army if you want to take them. And -1 damage is also pretty good on 8-bound, and you can tie them up with spawn and then force only like 1 dude to fight your 8-bound back. But it is nice to have 1 unit that you can just jam straight into those problems and say, your defenses don't matter.
Yeah.
Your proactive defenses, they don't matter. And yeah, he's insanely good. Honestly, even if he didn't come back,
You would still take him.
I would still take him.
Yeah, the coming back to life, as much as I talked about it, is like you said, secondary ability to nice. Like, he's a great model, and there's like, I don't know, like a 25-30% chance every time, like, if you spend a CP to roll on the blood tithe after kill a unit, you roll twice. He just like comes back. And if he dies early, a lot of times he will come back by turn 4 or 5.
Yeah, I mean, I've played plenty of games where he doesn't come back. I've played plenty of games where he does.
But the feeling when like the game is tight and you kill him and then he comes back immediately.
Yes.
Is like...
He can either deep strike down, pick +1 to charge instead of reroll hits and go for it on an 8 with a reroll, or you rapid ingress him down.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would be lying if I said him coming back isn't a serious part of his kit. Part of the reason you want an Angron is you can't bring your Angron back if
You don't have one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, he doesn't need to come back to be good, and oftentimes he doesn't. But one of the faction identities of World Leaders is like 20% chances for your opponent to lose the game at a bunch of different interactions.
Yes.
And one of those is getting stuck in combat, getting trapped in combat, but taking leadership check. One of them is Angron coming back to life, right? And you just throw enough of those at your opponent that eventually they're like, oops, guess I ran into the 20%er. And then...
All right, you want to move on to our number one, the one character who is somehow better than Angron.
Somehow.
Not
in my heart, though.
His brother, Magnus the Red.
Magnus. So Magnus is literally Thousands.
Yes. So I have seen World Leaders lists without Angron.
I don't like them.
I don't like them, but I've seen them. I have literally never in 10th edition seen a Thousand Sons list that did not include Magnus the Red.
Nick lost to one at a tournament on the West Coast.
Well, I didn't see it, so
You didn't see it.
I didn't see it.
I saw it.
Okay.
I saw it.
He's crazy.
Yeah, he's bananas. I mean, he's 410, I think.
Yeah.
I think Angron is the most expensive at 415 out of all of them. But Magnus it might be 440. I don't remember. The point is, I don't know his points cost because I start with him in the list.
Yes.
I don't debate whether I include him or not. I just include him and then build the rest of the army from there. So I don't know how many points he is.
Yeah.
I think he's like 410, but I could be wrong. He is an insane command and control node for the army because he himself does a ton of damage. Full rerolls to hit and full rerolls to wound and shooting on 2 separate shooting profiles.
They're both pretty solid.
Both of them are really good. Both of them have
wounds.
devastating wounds. You can buff him in a variety of ways. And he has an aura, including himself. He's 440 now. Okay, I think he was 410.
Yeah.
He has an aura, including himself, of +1 to hit and +1 to wound for psychic weapons in shooting and combat.
Which is most of your weapons because you're playing Thousand Sons.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of them. So what this means is he shoots really hard. Really hard. He buffs all the dudes around him.
Yep.
And he's surprisingly good in combat.
Shockingly
he's surprisingly
good in combat.
fast, and he's surprisingly durable.
Because you can make him -1 damage, you can blank a save, you can get 2 Cabal rerolls, you can get a CP reroll. Like, he just kind of like waves his hand and damage disappears, and he's still like toughness 11, 2 up, 4 up, 16 wounds.
Because he picks from 2 abilities each turn. The third one is not relevant, will not be mentioned. But he picks from 2 abilities. One is +2 move for everybody within 6 inches of him.
Which is quite good.
Really good. Thousand Sons are kind of a slow army, but being able to take Rubric Marines from movement 5 to movement 7 is
Which means
massive
a
breakpoint.
lot of times they move 14 if you double move them.
Yeah, if you double move, they move 14 instead of 10. That's a pretty big change. And then he moves 16 instead of 14. And this only gets better if you double move.
Yeah.
But his other ability is he is -1 damage against non-psychic weapons. People forget the non-psychic part of that all the time. But yes, against non-psychic weapons, -1 damage. Don't worry, he has something for the psychic weapons too. It's a strat for Feel No Pain.
Yeah.
His shooting is good enough to dome a thing a turn, is basically the way I would put it. He will kill a thing a turn.
It basically doesn't matter what the thing is. Some things he won't
Some
kill,
things, but you spend Cabal points until he'll kill it.
Yes.
Basically, to either give him +2 AP, which you probably don't do, or you just Doom Bolt it a couple times and now it's softened up and Magnus is like, I did 9 mortal wounds from dev wounds and here's a bunch of saves.
Yep.
Yeah. And he is so much more durable than you think he is that if you just look at his stat line, you're actually in for some problems.
Yeah, he is far more durable than Angron.
Yes, by a substantial amount because he is a bigger linchpin of the army than Angron and also does not come back. Toughness 11, he's the same stats as Angron, and you would be forgiven for thinking the fact he doesn't have a 6-up Feel No Pain means that he is less durable than Angron, but you would be very wrong. 1 CP blank a failed save is a huge deal because you will reroll up to 3 of those saves each turn. Well, you can reroll up to 6 technically in multiple phases.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of Cabal points, you probably won't be doing all of that. And -1 damage, if you're hitting it with high damage, like if you're hitting it with like a unit of Las Chickens or something, if you're hitting it with 1 unit of like 6 Las Cannons, you can fully expect that to do
like 0 damage.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Like actually nothing, right? You hit him with 6 Las Chickens is an average of 5 hits. It's actually an average of 6 if they're hitting on 2s, or they hit on 3s. Either way, sustained. So 5 hits. Then you wound him on 3s. Let's call it 3 wounds. He's going to fail 2 of those. You're going to re-roll. He might fail 1 of them, but he fails 2 of those. You re-roll those both. You pass 1 of those, and the other one you auto pass, or you zero, you blank it, and you took 0 damage. And that is on average. Actually, it's a bit more than average. Like I think you could take 4 Las Chickens to the face and expect to take 0 damage. Everything after that is free, right? Everything after that, you have no more defensive abilities. No more. Once you burn through the defensive abilities of Magnus, he is out of defensive abilities and just takes the damage. So if Magnus can pick and engage where he shoots something to death, gets hit back by 1 thing, he can routinely expect to do that every turn of the game with no consequence.
He is the single best, like, pick an angle, shoot down a lane, and snipe at something.
Yep.
Because he doesn't want... He's fine getting shot back by a thing, and he's really good at limiting getting shot back to a thing. His range is pretty good. You can add range. And then he's so fast, because if you double move him, he can go, like, 30-something inches.
Yeah, if you double move him and he's +2 move, you go 32 inches.
Yeah.
Which is insanely quick.
He's also really good at doing the Warlord on your home objective secret mission.
He's OC6.
Because you can be like...
most things that you could put back there.
In mid-board, and then in 1 turn, just go take it.
Yep.
Yeah.
He goes and takes it, and you can't really do anything about it because he'll just shred the unit on the objective. He doesn't have like melee that's insane, but he has melee that is very good.
Yeah.
It's not like Angron level where it will just demolish you almost no matter what you are. But it is good enough that you can reliably shoot 1 thing to death, charge a 2nd thing to death.
Yeah, he'll kill like an armiger pretty reliably.
Oh, basically every time. Because he's +1 to hit and +1 to wound. So he hits on 2s with +1, so -1 to hit can go screw itself. And then 7 attacks at 16, 3, 3 dev wounds with +1 to wound. So he wounds everything in the game on 2s unless they're -1 to wound. Wounds everything in the game on 2s.
Yeah.
And he has devastating wounds. And he'll just be like, okay, so I rolled. He doesn't have rerolls of any kind. So he'll just be like, here's 4 saves at AP 3 damage 3 and a 3 damage dev wound.
Yep.
And you can just do that every turn of the game.
All right. You want to go ahead and hit some super chats?
I would love to.
Okay. Fence the Penguin with a $5 super chat. Woo monsters, pour one out for the barbed here duel. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of not sad it's gone.
Yeah.
I thought he looks kind of derpy.
Barbie was pretty cool. That's Chris, who was on our ATC team for 2 rounds.
How exciting.
I'll be seeing you in a bit.
Yep.
Ryan G says, can we get a top 10 worst monsters list? Toxicrin #1, baby. He actually isn't the worst monster now because he can actually move around the board.
Oh, because he shrinks down to the size of his base.
The size of his base. He no longer is like, hi, I can't move between ruins.
Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah, if you assemble the kit the way the kit tells you to, which is what you legally have to do.
Yeah.
He has like 12 inches of tentacles sticking out to either side. Right? It's like 6 inches this way, 6 inches that way on the center on like a model that isn't small to begin with. And you just can't move through buildings. But now you can.
The Death Card Winged Demon Prince is not great. Yes. He's pretty bad. He's probably on there.
Yeah.
There are a lot of like very medium monsters. That was a big issue we had was most of our monsters were like, this is fine. It's very okay.
Yep. But I think we got a very, very solid
I'm happy with top 10.
Top 10. Yeah. Ryan G again chimes in, says, don't forget that Terran effects get lethals from Hive Tyrant now.
I think we did end up mentioning
We mentioned that.
Yeah, but thank you for reminding.
It is, it's nice. Yeah. When you don't have to roll to wound, it's pretty good. And then we got the D says, guys, can you please explain to me how melee through walls work in WTC? I know in WTC they ignore the 1-inch gap rule, but how does it work? Thanks.
Okay.
Well, you take it away, Quinn.
Okay. So if I remember correctly, and I need you all in chat to remember, this is like a 10-page document with like pictures and graphs in like size 6 font. Basically, you declare one of your charges into another unit on the charge. And so assuming your unit can go through the wall, so it's infantry or beast. You then, so you're like, okay, I can't get within an inch of you. You then measure who could like make the charge and be like, it's these 6 guys. And then you put a token down next to those 6 guys. Then if they're within 2 inches, they're allowed to fight. The rest of the unit then piles in and fights normally, and they don't get tokens. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that's how that works.
If at any point a tokened model piles in or consolidates and does not make base when they could have, or does not make normal engage range when they could have, they lose the token. But other than that, yes. The main thing to keep in mind about this is that the intention is to solve the problem and also to dissuade people from trying to use it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like needlessly complicated. The judges also basically just said, don't do it.
Yeah, there's a section in the rules doc that says, hey, listen, come over here. All right. We know this is super janky, super weird, very complicated nonsense.
Yeah.
If you don't want to use it, don't 1-inch the walls.
Yep.
If you do 1-inch the walls, they'll still be able to make combat with you. It'll just be a headache for everyone involved, so don't do it.
Yep.
And that's, respect, I guess. Mutually assured headaches.
Indeed. Logan Grimnar with a $2 super chat. The worst monster in Warhammer is you, the player. I like to think that was just at you, Jack.
No, it's the player.
The player?
If you include anything on this list, then you're having a good time. And I don't judge you for it.
I like Magnus and Angron and the Avatar.
Oh, yeah, they're all great.
They're all great.
I love the Avatar, man. He's almost my favorite monster on the list.
He's very fun.
But Angron is my homie.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Any final closing thoughts before we head out?
I think that is it. That is, I believe, the conclusion of the top 10 data sheets of various stripes.
I believe it is.
So what was the top one of each category? It was the Castigator for top vehicles,
Magnus,
the
Triumph of St. Catherine
for best characters, and the World Eaters Chaos Spawn for best unit. And I stand by that.
Look at that. We have 4 different factions. No, yeah, we had Sisters were on there twice.
Sisters were on there twice. Yeah, and if they had a monster,
they probably would have been on there.
Would have been on the top monster as well.
Yeah.
But they don't.
Not at all.
That's fair. That's fairness for you.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys around. Have a wonderful day. And until next time, see you later.
Bye-bye.